Hello, my name is Dr. Michele Verma. I'm a doctorate in anthropology and education and an adjunct instructor at the University of Houston with the Comparative Cultural Studies Department. And I'm honored to be here today with the Foundation for India Studies to conduct an interview that will be archived with the Indo-American Oral History project. And today we are featuring a wonderful, achieved woman. Her name is Parul Fernandes. This magazine here, Profiles, gives her this accolade: a citizen of the world, fostering diversity and global perspectives. Parul's entire career and life has been dedicated to connecting people of different cultures and helping students travel abroad and have widening experiences that expand their horizon. So I'm very excited to learn about her career and journey as a professional and as an immigrant here to Houston, Texas, United States.
Thank you. Thank you for the nice introduction. And what do you want to know about me?
Well, let's start from the very beginning to learn more about your background.
Yeah.
Could you tell us about where you're from, about your early years in education?
Well, I'm originally from India and was born in Mumbai and grew up in Pune. I had my 2 master's degrees, one in English literature and one in world history from Pune University. And I taught in Wadia College, which is a conglomeration of colleges with science, arts, commerce and all. I taught English literature. I taught English ESL and all for 17 years. And I also fell in love in the college with a professor friend and got married to Mr. Fernandes there, who also had come to teach management. So I started my career. I actually studied in Wadia College also, and then I taught in the same college for 17 years.
I appreciate it, giving a kind of overview of all of that. That's very helpful. So which state are you from in India, and where were you born and raised?
Okay, as I said, I was born in Mumbai, but I grew up in Pune.
Mm-hmm.
It is a Maharashtra state. It is on the western region, on the coastal side, and it's a very dynamic region in the sense it is full of history and full of culture of the ancient Maharashtrian kings and kingdoms there. And so there is a lot of vibrant energy of students coming from different parts of the world to that place. The colleges and all there are very famous for that. But I grew up learning Marathi. Gujarati was my mother tongue, and came from a strict vegetarian home, but my mother was very dynamic woman. She had 2 women organizations under her, and we were 4 girls and one boy. This was my brother. We all had different professions. The 3 of us were in education. My eldest sister was vice principal of a school. My second sister was a doctor. My brother an actor. And my twin and I are both in education. But she takes care of the Montessori part and I take care of all college kids. So we divided up it in that way. But my mother always considered the 4 girls as boys. She said, I have 4 boys and 1 girl, because she wanted the girls to have full education. She said that's how it should be, because she knew that education was one of the very most important things in life, and she directed us to that. My father, being a businessman in the entertainment industry, was careful enough to see that we didn't go overboard with the entertainment industry at all. So he was sure that he gave us values, that money was not the most important thing, or glamour was not the most important thing, that family values. He taught us all the Gayatri mantras by playing the harmonica every night. And we gathered together to say that in the night before we slept. And my mother gave me a rule that every night before you sleep, you have to think what you did, what good you did, and what bad you did. If you did the bad, do not repeat it. If you did the good, repeat it. So these were the instructions we got when we were kids. And still to this day, I have this introspection with me every night. What did I do today? It's a very simple question. And it helps helps me to grow within myself and helps me to better myself, because everybody does something wrong sometime, you know. So I don't like to hurt people, or don't like to do so. The service attitude of being good or values was set by my parents, and they were great travelers. Every vacation we traveled, and we had great fun. So I think I got that traveling instinct of from my dad especially, and so I've traveled about 45 countries by now, and I want to make it 50, you know, before I die, so that I have at least seen half the world according to me. So this is one of the reasons why I'm that international. You know, I think the seeds were sown at that time.
And was your household a joint family household growing up, or was it just with your parents and siblings?
No, we did have an uncle who stayed with us, but he was also my father's partner in business and things like that. So when my father passed away, he brought us up. So that was a real traditional thing. I mean, he saw to it that our education was completed, because we were in school, in high school, when my father passed away suddenly, the heart attack, and he was the one who really didn't walk out on us. He took care of us, and he sort of brought us up and saw that everybody settled down in life, you know. So he was there till I got married. So we looked at him like an elder. You know, my mother called him elder brother, and you know, we looked at him as an uncle who was very fond of us. Yeah.
So as a girl, how far did you go in your schooling? You were saying how your mother really treated you the same as your brothers and encouraged and fostered your education. Can you tell us about your educational path and your professional path in India?
I remember we grew up, we went to a Protestant school, and we went every Sunday to church, because of the fact that the school would want us to go to church on Sundays to learn the Christian values. And we went because nobody said no to us, you know, from home or anything. And then suddenly the government of India at that time, and this is way back, I'm talking about in the 50s, decided that not all children have to go to church if they are in a Christian school. They can do moral science instead of learning the Bible in the school, which was one course. You could go and learn moral science, like Aesop fables or Ramayana or Mahabharata, with stories that gave values. So my mother opted for that when she was given the choice. So every year we used to, we being twins, I'm a twin, so we had 2 sets of books. And every year we would sell a set of books to the next class kids. And so I was going out of the house, and I remember this very clearly. I had all the books, science books, math books, everything. And I had the Bible on the top, because the Bible was no longer needed. I was not going to go through the course with the Bible. So I just put the Bible on the top, and I was going. And my mother saw me with this pile of books, and she says, "Where are you taking your books?" I said, "I'm going to give it for second hand to the next group." She said, "But what is on the top?" I said, "The Bible." It's the Bible. And I had a very big, thick priest Bible, leather-bound Bible. And she said, "Don't take that and sell it. Go and put it back." Okay, that's a religious book. It has to say you read it, you have known the value of it, and I don't want you to sell that book. You can sell your math book, or so. That time itself, though she was an uneducated person, she knew what was right and what was wrong, you know, and she valued all those things. You know, that's why it was a little difficult when I married a Christian, and I could not understand why she did not jump up and say, "Yes, good." But it was because I think she was afraid of the society, what society would say, and things like that. That was a fear in her, and that was probably the reason why she just didn't say, "Oh, I'm so happy you're marrying a Christian," because we were Hindus and you're marrying a Christian. So, but these values were there. So we were very liberally brought up. But we were also told to sit back and not to do certain things, you know. And then she wanted us to be home by 5:36, you know, not spend the nights, evenings out or something. These are the values of the Indian traditional family, that the girls are more protected when they are young, because teenage pregnancies would not take place and all those things could be avoided. And but we never understood that, because we were kids and we wanted. But I always had a companion, because I had a twin sister. So to me, it was a joyous childhood. I didn't have to even look for a friend who would play with me all day long and night long, and I could fight with that person all the time. So we were always together, and that's one of the reasons why I never feel lonely even today. I think it's the twin thing, the twin effect or something like that. That doesn't make me feel like I'm all alone for 30 years in this country, and I always feel like everybody else is there for me. You know, so I don't feel at all that I'm alone and I have to do everything by myself, and I don't cry over any of these things at all. It bothers me why people feel alone, you know, and I don't feel that, but this is one of the things. And so I grew up very strong parental support, and I remember that Hindi was, I failed in Hindi, and my mother had told me that if I ever got a red mark on my report card, I would have to clean the floors. We already had 5 helpers in the house, but she was very strict about that red mark. So once I did get a red mark, which was I failed in Hindi, and Hindi was supposed to be a national language, and it couldn't be that. So I got scared, and I told my eldest sister, sign on my report card, you know, mommy's not here, she's gone out with dad, you know, you please sign, I've got to finish up and wrap up with everything. So she, my sister signed it, but just to my bad luck, as soon as my sister signed it, she came, you know, and she said, what are you doing? She said, I'm signing her report card. Let me see, she said. And she took the report card and said, there's a red line, there's a Hindi red line. What do you mean by failing in Hindi? So I got scared, and I told her that I can't understand the difference between ch and j. They both sound the same to me, and I get mixed up and I make my spellings because of that. So my dad said, okay, don't worry about it, I will teach you. And I was quite shocked that he said that, because he was we had theaters, and every night my father had to go to the 9 o'clock show to collect the money, and he would come home at 10:30, and when would he have time to teach me, you know, like I thought. So anyway, matter got resolved that he was going to teach me, and then I would be fine, so I got out of trouble at that time. But he did take time, because after dinner, his rule was in dinner, everybody has to be home for dinner, and after dinner he would sit with me and he would say, okay, J for jungle, and Ch for cheej. Cheej means thing in Hindi. So J and Ch, he would make me practice, he would make me write things with J and Ch for half an hour at least, and then he would, you know, say, okay, practice it, I'm going to do this collection from the theater and come back. And so there was always this interaction with my parents, and so I always had their support, you know, I had their support. And he taught me never to give too much importance to money, because he says money comes and goes. And we used to have heaps of cash on the table, which were sort of separated by the coins, you know, like you have 10 paisa. That time there was an anna, one anna, you know, like you have a quarter in Hindi. And we used to help as kids and separate it, but we never got any money out of it. We only, when we went to school, there was 1 anna given to us to buy sweets or to buy fruits. Only 1 anna. But we had a Chevrolet car at that time, but we got 1 anna. So it was like, you know, we were rich, but we were not rich in the sense we only got 1 anna, because my mother said everybody else nearly gets 1 anna in your school, but you're not getting more. You're not showing off. Okay.
So how did this little girl make her way to America? Can you tell us about your journey?
Yeah, it is strange that I always taught English to international students in India also. And then my husband fell very ill, and with kidney failure. He had got kidney failure, though he was a footballer. I don't know what happened in his physiology. And I had to struggle trying to get him to be dialyzed in Pune, because there was no dialysis available. So in Bombay, I learned how to dialyze, and I brought him to Pune, and I asked the hospital to give me a doctor, and I learned how to dialyze and wash the kidney. Those kidneys were not disposable kidneys that you get here. They were these huge kidneys that you had to take out and wash, and then put a paper inside, and then put a layer on the top. It was just totally different from, if somebody were to show that even today to in America, they would say, what? this is what you did dialysis on?
Mhm.
But they were American kidneys, but they were this huge, you know. So I learned all about that, and I wanted to set my, my husband was very young, he was 35, and when he passed away, he was 40. So you can imagine, I was 39 when I widowed. But the 5 years between that was like trying to help him live somehow make him live, make him feel, because he was doing his PhD, and he did complete it during all that time in office management. He did his PhD in office management. So we struggled in finances, we struggled in the healthy region. I set up a kidney foundation so that other people could get it, and I came in emergencies and helped people how to do the dialysis. I counseled the wives that this is what you have to give them to eat, see that they don't do this and see that. So I did my best, plus I worked because I had to earn money. I had to go to college and teach, you know. So I did all that. And
What was your employment then?
I was a lecturer, assistant professor for English, and he was also the same in management. We were in the same college at that time.
So you were fully employed. You were
Yeah.
caring for your ailing husband,
Yeah.
but you had no children.
No, I had
Yeah.
2 miscarriages, and we were going to adopt a child, but he fell sick, so we decided not to do that. And then we had one transplant there, and that was a hard part because in transplant we have to have a live donor. So strange people, I had to put an advertisement, and strange people started calling me and asking me, you know, out and things like that because they could give their kidney for my husband. Now that was very, very, very difficult. I couldn't do that. You know, I just couldn't do that. I said, if you want to give, give, otherwise don't give, you know, kind of situation. So as a woman, I had to struggle with this. What am I to do? Should I save my husband and, you know, do this? Or just go out with this man whom I have never seen in my life, you know, because he's promising a kidney? So those were the struggles, internal one. I never told my husband about it, but you know, they were internal women struggles that women have to experience, you know. But my family was there, my mother was there, my brother was there, and we had a human history story of the struggle for survival. You know, it was really a struggle for survival because I had to collect funds. I had to deposit $30,000 in US in order to get the operation done, you know, which I did. I mean, I'm happy that I did it because I wanted him to live.
And where was the operation done?
It was in Brooklyn, downtown medical center.
So it was out of a crisis,
Yeah.
a health crisis,
Yeah.
that brought you to the States.
Yeah. It was this crisis that brought me to the States. And it was I always thought about Harlem, and I always thought about all these things, but I never had seen Harlem, you know, and then so when I came here, I especially took a bus to go to Harlem in New York in order to see Harlem because I had taught essays about Harlem and things like that, you know, and I wanted to. So when he did get the transplant, and he through all the ups and downs, we had to export medications from Germany and things like that, and we brought him back to India fully, well enough to work. But after 6 months, he could not survive. So then I had to think twice again as to what to do with my life. So I started again, you know, with going back to college and teaching as I was teaching before. But there was a turning point. You know, when in Christianity, because people are buried, you can go to the spot and talk. So after my classes started at 7:30 in the morning to 11:30, and after 11:30 I used to go back to my mother's place. Normally I should go back to my mom's place and have lunch with her, so that was the plan. But between 11:30 and 12:30 I used to go on my scooter and go to the grave and talk to him as if he was there, you know, like he was alive, you know. So today this happened, that happened, you know. It was just like nothing had ever conspired between the two of us, you know. So one day when I was doing that, I was on my scooter, there was an international student whom I had taught English coming on the other side of the road, and he was injured on his knee. I could see the blood coming, and he was walking with his cycle, and his cycle was all twisted. So I stopped and I said, Basil, what happened? He's saying, oh, I met with an accident, and So I said, okay, where are you going? He said, I don't know, I'm going to some doctor, someplace I'll go. I said, wait. And I turned around and I took him to the hospital because I knew the hospital doctors. And I sat with him and saw to it that he got attended to. Meanwhile, the hour got over. The 11:30 to 12:30 hour got over, and I was supposed to go home and have lunch with my mother because I was staying with my mother. I wasn't staying alone. I thought, my God, if I don't go at 12:30, my mother will start worrying, So I'm not going to the grave to talk to Tony, but I'm going to go and have lunch with mom. So I went straight and had lunch with mom, and that night and that evening was a turning point for me again. I thought to myself, why am I holding on to the past? Why am I not thinking about the present and the future? Isn't there something wrong? Isn't that something? I have a whole lifetime. I don't know how long I'm going to live. I must do something about it. So I decided that what am I good at? Okay, I'm good at teaching. I'm good with students, college students. I'm good at with international students. I love all these cultures and eating food with them, keeping them in my house and things like that. So why not I go out of this whole scenario, make a change, total change, and learn to live life in another country or do something crazy, So I decided, I told my mother, I want to get a change. I'm really, because everything reminds me of him here and I need to get a change. So she said, okay, take a world trip ticket, go around the world, just relax and come back. I said, I don't think that's going to work. It's going to work only if I really go and stay somewhere. She said, okay, then go and study. I said, yeah, that's a good idea. I'll go and study. So I started applying to all the schools, and this is within the year after my husband's passing away.
And what year was that?
It was in 82, he died, and 83 I came here as a student in the School for International Training in Vermont, a very cold place, And I remember it very well that I was like this in a sleeveless blouse and a sari in the bus. And Vermont is very countryside, And there were cows, the Holstein cows, the black and white cows were there. And I said, oh my God, I thought I left the cows behind in India. And everybody in the bus started laughing that, oh my God, look at her. And it was cold and it was this thing. So that is how, brought me here to a place totally different from New York or from the city. And I went to this place where...
Can I ask, what was your perception of America before you arrived? Did you have some views of what America would be?
Yeah, when I came in 82, 81 for my husband's sister, I stayed in Staten Island, New York.
Okay.
So I had seen New York with the skyscrapers and I had seen New York with all its hustle and bustle. I didn't know that a campus or a school which is up in the mountains in Rudyard Kipling's estate, that it's going to be so countryside.
Okay, so
I had
rural.
never imagined America to be that countryside.
Okay.
So it was a little shocker for me, and that's why when I saw the cows, I reacted like that, The cows in India, why did they here, So that kind of reaction was there. But it was a beautiful experience because, one, the cold. I never knew the snow because I hadn't seen it in Pune or Bombay. And so when the first flurry came in, I was like, I'd already gone and bought my snowshoes and my sweater and turtleneck sweater. So it was like really different, and I went out in the flurry and wanted to hold the snow, things like that, and everybody was saying, look at her, she's gone crazy. They stayed in the dorm, At the age of 40, when you go to study, it's like a different setup. You have young people around you and you're much elder and you're acting so crazy,
Was it an international population or was it a lot of American students? Tell us about the student body that you first...
it was an international population, but it was still 50 American and half international, because it was a master's in international development. And that led me to the next job, as I will tell you. That international development I took because I wanted to learn about how to bring about development in an international field. Even though I was an education background person, I was very much interested in community stuff. I think because I followed my mother everywhere she went, she took us wherever she went. So we were like a little bit on that community side, So I did my master's in international development there, at that time. And I learned a lot, and then I was finished, not completely finished, I had a thesis to finish, but we could do it anywhere. So I was planning, I did my OPT with teaching in College of Staten Island and College of Hostos Community College in New York, and a consultancy with for granite stones and things like that, So I had this diverse feeling. I don't like to be stuck with one thing for a long time. It is sort of gives boredom to me, so that's what happens.
So what was your first opportunity in your field of international development? Did that come soon after your studies?
Yes, after my studies, my professor Hapte, he was from Ethiopia, and he told the Foundation for the People of South Pacific, they were looking for a country director, and he told them that you find this girl in New York, and she will be the best candidate for you. So they forced me for an interview, which I didn't want to go. But when I went for the interview, I found it very challenging because it was the Republic of Kiribati. The spelling is Kiribati, but the T is sounding like an S in the local language.
So this is an oceanic country.
Yes, and it's 33 islands, all like
little atolls.
Little atolls all over. And I was sent there as a country director because I had to do UNICEF projects and USAID projects and Australian aid projects and Canada Fund projects and all those kinds of projects, which I also helped develop them and got the funding also. But my job was to implement. The first one was the UNICEF one. And when I found the first one at UNICEF was on children, nutrition and children, and I was monitoring and evaluating the project, I found blind children, and I said, why there are so many blind children? I found they had vitamin A deficiency, so I did the vitamin A survey of 4,614 children in those islands.
So you were living for how long in the Republic of
4
Kiribati?
years. 4 years I lived there. I really was there for 2 years contract. They extended it for 2 years, and then I had to come back because I had not completed my thesis for
How did your family feel about you becoming this international global woman?
I don't know if I ever told them that I was I think they just were happy to see me every year because I took round the world tickets every year because they gave us a month's leave. So I took the round the world ticket and visited India, my mother, and everyone said hi to everybody and went on, So as long as I was there and I was happy, they didn't bother me. So they just thought, well, she's doing her crazy stuff, is whatever it was. But it was very, very interesting. Being the first Indian woman there, it was very interesting to. But the culture is so much Eastern also, but they are very.
So just to clarify, you were the country director for repeat the organization?
It's called Foundation for the People of South Pacific.
Foundation for People of South Pacific.
Now it's no longer existing, but it was part of the UN system.
Okay.
And they always had these little, people don't like to go to tiny places, and but they need the development there. So we did business development, we did vitamin A survey, we did prevention and control projects, we did business seed revolving economy seed projects. But we had to stand in line to even get a cabbage or a cauliflower, which cost us $6. So I grew okra. I brought okra seeds from India. Whenever I made a trip, I brought eggplant seeds, and I made containers. I bought the oil drums from the ships that were left over. I cut them into half and washed them, and then I used pig manure and sand because there was nothing but sand there. And told them to look at the moon because 15 days you turn this over. When the moon becomes full, again turn it over. And we created soil, and we grew okra on saris, cotton saris. We layered it, and we grew okra because the okra roots go sideways and they don't go down. So we did all kinds of things like that, so that the nutritional part of it, because they were so used to what came on the ship was just like rice and sugar. They would just mix rice and sugar, coconut, fish. That was that day, and beer. because they could buy those things. So they were eating out of tins and they were eating out of.
So you helped tremendously to increase nutrition
Yeah.
and for the country as a whole. That's just amazing.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of community support in terms of fellow Indians in that republic?
They would come as UNDP consultants for 1 month, 2 months, or something like that. I've seen some of them who came with a wife, they're not with full families, but only with their spouses. They came. People came from all countries there, but we were expats, and we were like a small colony of expats. We had crabs walking all over our houses sometimes, and it's a very different scenario, totally different. Even describing it takes hard for somebody to transfer that, how you live with these things happening, But the people are so good and they're very nice, and they're Pacific Islanders, so they are very peaceful people.
So why didn't you become a Pacific Islander? How did you make your way back to the United States?
Yeah, I had to, because I had to finish my thesis for my master's. I had spent all my money trying to get here, so I wanted to come back. And the school said that they won't give me my master's if I didn't do it. So I had to come back.
Oh, and finish your thesis.
Yeah. And so when I came back, I was in New York and I finished the thesis there. And then my niece came to Houston for her PhD with University of Houston. And she kept calling me saying she was the only member of the family here and I was the only member who had been here so alone. So why don't I come? And meanwhile, her mother, my twin sister, came to New York from Bombay, and she said, well, you're not working right now, so let's come to a holiday and go to Houston together. So when I arrived in Houston.
What year was that you arrived in Houston?
I think I arrived in Houston in 92. And I said, wow, I don't have to shovel snow here, because in New York I had to shovel snow. There had been 26 snowstorms that year. And I said, oh, thank God I don't have to do that here if I move here, because they were brainwashing me to move down here. And ultimately I did, And I thought there would be many development sort of organizations here. So I did come here, and then when I moved, I found out that I had no development organizations here, the International Development Organization. So I decided I'll go back to teaching, because I was already having the experience of that. So I started adjunct at UH downtown and an adjunct at Houston Community College. So I had the morning job at downtown, UH downtown, and from 5:30 to 10:30 an evening job with HCC at the Milby campus. It was a school which they had for the evening, for the Hispanic population, for ESL and all that. So I became the campus director for that.
So how did you experience any racial or religious or cultural discrimination in your search for work? How was your first experiences with Houston?
With work, no, I think everybody was very supportive. The only thing was finding work, which was satisfying to me, and I was still looking for a development thing, like I wanted to do something in development. So between the times I taught, I had an afternoon spare time, so I went to the director of community and resource development, and I said, listen, I've done so many projects, so many things. I write grants. Can I not do something for HCC, And she said, can you show me samples of what you've done? So I showed her samples, and I told her that if I write a grant, can I be the director? Okay, I very clearly told her that I would.
Took initiative, yeah.
Yeah, because I know how to implement what I wrote. Basically, that's what it is. And I wanted to do that kind of work also. So she said, she thought for a while, of course, and she said, oh, okay, she thought I might not get a grant, But so I went out of this is very funny, because I went out of the campus, the southeast campus. I stood on the edge of the road, and there's just a lane, and then there is the 45 South Freeway, and I said, look there, and I saw trucks with people sitting at the back, and children sitting on the laps of their mothers, right in the front seat. Driver was buckled, but the others were just free, everybody was free. And I thought to myself, here's a problem. They're not thinking about the protection for occupants. So I should look at something that will give me money to help them be protected.
Mm.
And with that idea, I went to the police station, found out how many accidents had happened because of that, and I went to the State Department of Transportation to see if there's money available. So my research helped me to put a grant together, which was called Buckling Up for Life. And we did it for 9 years. We gave 1,000 free car seats to Hispanics. We went and found out in the first year, I remember the budget was $85,000. I could hire part-time Hispanic teacher to speak Spanish in the community, and Hispanic part-time secretary, so that we could reach out to the state. Though I didn't know Spanish at all. To this day, I don't know, though my surname is Fernandes, but it's more Portuguese Fernandes. So in that way, what happened was I was able to start something in the community, in the development section. And I did the research, and I showed what is wrong, why they think that, you know. And so occupant protection became a big thing. It was called Buckling Up for Life.
So immediately you came and you engaged in like community development because you looked and saw a problem and addressed it through the local community college with your grant. That's really remarkable.
Because teaching was a very easy thing for me, but development was challenging. You know,
so you were teaching, what were you teaching at the time?
English.
You were teaching
ESL,
English, ESL, and then you were also doing
I was
this.
in charge of the campus, also the Milby campus, which was a little administrative. But I was also teaching grammar and writing and this and that. But I was also getting into this development. And when the development grants became more and more, I had to give up my teaching. So I had to give up UH downtown and all. Because then my staff increased to 5 people as my years. And I had people going into schools and telling the mothers and telling the children. We did graphic videos, we distributed 1,000 car seats. We had all the neighborhood centers come back together. The police come with us. We made committees and we brought it up to the safe community. And the safe community is to make the community safe, you have to have a reminder service which you see today. Like click it and tick it, drink, drive, go to jail. All these were slogans made by a young African-American police officer. And I remember that...
and we still see those today, reminding us to buckle up.
Buckle up, So we had this...
so very sustainable program. You did this for what, 9 or 10 years?
9 years. And
9
this
years.
is the proclamation I got from Judge Eccles with the Texas Department of State, which proclaims there is buckling up for life, and it's a safety week that he would proclaim that. So it was a great thing that happened during my time.
So we should thank you for making us safer here in Houston. People drive kind of crazy sometimes, but
still do,
they still do.
But from here, when I was doing that, my heart was also with India. You know, I'm an Indian, and when you're a first generation person, you cannot disconnect that much. You know, your body is here and your soul is there. You ask any first generation person, will feel that way. So I thought that India also needs development, and I need to help India in some ways. And at that time, HIV/AIDS was a very, very taboo thing, and it was lots of cases in India was shown. And I visited one orphanage place in Bombay where I was shown a woman who was thrown out on the streets by her family, and she was pregnant because she was shown HIV positive. And there were children who were HIV positive also. And this orphanage was taking care of them, giving them nutritional food and this and that. So when I saw that, I said, you know what, we should do something in this field now. And in education, what can I do? You know.
That's very progressive-minded, because that's a very taboo topic, right?
Yeah. So I wrote a grant, and I got, for the first year I didn't get it, but the second year I again got it with Delhi University. And then I got the topmost colleges and universities in Delhi to come to you with Houston Community College, come and write a curricula for HIV. There was no curricula on HIV, you know. And they said, how will we do it? I said, we'll train you. So 3 weeks training we gave to all the presidents of the colleges, because I didn't want faculty, because faculty has to still take permission from the president. If the president does it, president doesn't have to take permission from faculty. Okay. So I got them to revisit the whole thing. We learned how the credit transfers take place, learned how the curricula is to be designed. He went through all the hospitals, went through all the NGOs that do HIV for 2 weeks it was like from morning 8 o'clock in the morning to 8:30 in the night. They were like all the time working on HIV and what is HIV and why it is there and how it can be removed and things like that. So then internships for students were also designed in that. And the grant actually wanted only 5 curricula to be designed. They were so excited with this 2 weeks, they did 12. And to this day it is sustainable. Thank God it is still working, it is still there. All right. So this is how the stuff started, and I was able to go into international initiatives with the HCC, you know, like be there for them. And it was there that a vice president of the University of Houston saw me, and there was a big function that Ruth Sasser, the then vice chancellor, she gave it to the community to tell how this international setup partnership was done. So I took her to India to sign the MOU.
Memorandum of Understanding. Yeah.
And she was the grant. In the grant itself, it was written to do that, and then we did it. So we, the vice president of international, if University of Houston main campus was there in the gala or in the party that was given, and there he recognized the fact that I had potential for international, and I was invited to come to University of Houston main campus to start the unit of international studies and programs.
Okay.
And that's how I became a director of international studies and programs. And it's very strange. I was telling a friend today morning, Lina, that I have never applied for any jobs. I just realized it's just like people know me and what I
They
am.
see your work and recognize it.
They just want to tell me to do something for them.
And
So-
you've been invited to
Yeah,
take
so
on responsibility.
And so now I retired from university after 12 years.
Can you tell us more about that experience? Tell us what is most rewarding from that job as Director of International Studies and
Yes,
Programs.
international studies and programs was more on a study abroad kind of situation. And for me, that was a very, very good setting for me, because I had to put the policies together, had to put the procedures together, had to put the whole study abroad unit together. And the students, normally people, even to this day, many parents ask me, why do you want to send our students abroad? People come from abroad to our place. I said, but you are missing out on knowing about them. They are much more, plus more, one more point higher than you, because they know about you also. You know? So you've got to know another culture in order to tolerate the way of thinking, in order to tolerate the way of eating, dressing. Why do they think like that? Why do they talk like that? Why do they behave like that? You know, why do you wear a sari? You know, when you can just wear a blouse and a shirt and a pant and be comfortable. This is uncomfortable is my question. No, it is not. It is meant for the heat. It's so open, and the heat of India is so much. You don't feel the heat even if you're wearing a sari. And it is a comfortable thing. It's not at all uncomfortable. You think it's uncomfortable because if I tell you it's 6 yards wrapped around me, you'll say, my God, so much of material, you know, but you don't know how it is wrapped. You don't know why it is wrapped, you know. So there are dresses in India, and the diversity of India and the different dresses of India pertain to the climate of that place.
So how did this position help? Did it help you to foster, I guess, cultural programs about India here in America through that position?
Yeah, in that position, I was able to open up minds of the young people, because if I did a vacation program for the Americans to go even to Mexico, where they think it's very dangerous to go, for 3 weeks just to learn a language, stay with the family, eat with the family, and see all the museums and cultures, learn the language in just $2,000 with the flight.
Wow.
That is all 5 things put together.
Yeah.
And if I could get such a cheap program made for students from here to go, I don't see why they shouldn't. And that too in a vacation time where they're not missing out their regular coursework. Plus those credits are transferred. So I created those kind of programs so that students, no matter whatever no they say, I can still send them.
How many students did you send annually? University of Houston has about, what, 33,000 students? It's a
Yeah,
big university.
that's a large number because
Yeah.
that is because they have about nearly 10, 15 of them are international students that
Okay.
are coming from outside.
Mhm.
It's it's a very challenging job to send Americans abroad, let me tell you. It's easier to get an international student to come here because they are self-motivated to come. They want to come and study here. So an Indian student is already thinking in school, oh, I'm going to go to America. So they are self-motivated. While an American student, if you ask it, will you go to India? Well, I don't want to go to India. Why do I want to go to India? You know, so there is a different mental thing here. They'll go to Europe because they think it's safe. They'll go to England, they'll think it's safe because they know the language. But they won't go to a place where the languages are different.
Or what about to the Middle East? Did
But
you
now,
send any
yeah, the
students there?
Middle East, yeah, when Middle East was in the crisis, I was, there were students who wanted to go and their parents would say no, so I had to get the parents, convince them that it's not the problem with the Middle East. In fact, I can show you something. Here is a student whom I sent to Jordan. And this is her mother, and this is me. And the mother came with her because we were discussing about the crisis situation. We were sure that the insurance and everything was taken care of. We were sure that her safety was there. If I didn't make it, still every child is my child, So I didn't want any child to suffer or any child to be blamed for, getting anything happen to them. And at this young age, what happens is they tend to think they can do anything in this world. So we have to even make them feel, no, you've got to be careful, you've got to be safe, it's not just fun.
It's an educating process, yeah.
Yeah.
So you were in this position for 4 years in tremendous leadership, expanding and creating international studies at University of Houston, but you're retired now.
Yeah.
But you haven't given up your passion for international curriculum, have you? You
No.
founded your own company.
Yeah, and
can you tell us more about your company?
yeah,
And the name of it?
Let me tell you, University of Houston was not 4 years, but
Oh,
12 years.
12 years, excuse
Okay,
me.
it was
Yeah,
12 years.
12 years.
Yeah,
That's
and
a long
12
tenure.
years. And after I retired, I thought, that, I'm retired, and I went for a five-continent trip, and I relaxed a lot and things like that. But in the back of my mind, there was always this pinching thought that, I must do something, So I formed a company which is being a higher education consultant now. Xpan, it is called, X and PAN. So X is energy, P is people, A is all, and N is nations. And Expand International means I want to bring the energy of the people of all nations together. That is my goal, that's my aim. There's so much energy with the young and with the people. Why not we bring them together? So now at this point of time in my life, I feel like I must, culminate this whole thing in one ball. The earth is like a ball, and I'm imagining it like all the energy is coming together. And that has led me to do a free needs assessment for the Pandit Deen Dayal University, and they have now offering me a position where I will be their executive global director for global initiatives. So in India, so I'm going back like a full circle, trying to help India in globalizing themselves, campuses, like I want the food in the cafeteria to change.
Are you repatriating back to India?
Somewhat. But it's a contract, so it'll go and I'll go and come
And
back.
where will you be
I will
staying?
be placed in Gandhinagar, which is a very next to Ahmedabad. It's in Gujarat, and I speak Gujarati, so that's one advantage. So I tell people, learn languages. This is the best way to go, and I can help them, realize that from every aspect they have to be global. See, even here I think here the universities feel that we must get students and we be global because of the intermingling of the students here. But we also have to be global.
We have to
So,
globalize
yeah,
ourselves, yeah.
Yeah, so food has to be global. People's mindsets have to be global of accepting people, They have to grow and break those boundaries. Because after all, the earth was made without boundaries. God didn't create any boundary. We created those boundaries of people, of countries and, places and all that. And we made our own world like that. For me, I have no boundaries. I personally don't have anything against anybody. I have had international students stay with me all the time. I've had Taiwanese, Bulgarians, and now I have an Iranian student staying with me. So I personally want to live that life also. I like that life. I don't want to live in a shell, cocoon of my own. So my vision now is, and I also joined Foundation for India Studies because for me India needs a lot of help. And I, being an Indian, I have that, it's like home, for me. So I feel like I must help as many Indian students as many foreign students as possible, because eating with them, living with them, you don't know how nice it feels to know that you have crossed borders, and that you don't have boundaries in life, After all, life is life, That is what we should live. And each human being is unique, it's different, it's very special. And I want to feel that, and I want to live that kind of concept.
So can you tell us more about your contribution to the Foundation for India Studies and to other community and professional organizations here in Houston?
Yeah, Foundation for India Studies I joined because Krishna Babilala was very passionate about introducing Hindi and India Studies into the University of Houston when he first came. And I thought, as an Indian, I felt very attracted to the idea that it's right. Why, if we can learn Chinese and Japanese and Spanish and everything, why can't we learn Hindi?
Yes.
And India is coming up, and so many global companies are moving there. Why that interaction is not taking place? So it is because nobody is pushing it, nobody is trying to do it. So when he came up with the idea, I was very much with him on that basis. And we did do some work. We did collect some money and started the India studies, Hindi studies there. But organizations like University of Houston, Change Hands, with Dr. Guj, we had we did the first MOU with him, and then this one came along, Renu Khator came along, and so she has her own ideas, and so we let it move. We let it go from our hands to her hands, so that she could move it the way she wanted to move it, because after all she was president of the university. But we have also made the community realize that by having talks of like Slumdog Millionaire movie, for example, did it do good to India or did it not do good to India?
To the perspective of Indian Americans, like did it help or hurt type of a question?
Yeah, sort of question. So we wanted to sort of make these sparks come out in the community, so that then we have the lecture series, and this Indo-American project came along, and we are doing that. So I think it's great. It's moving on its own space, and it's wonderful to have it. And I did what I could do. I cannot say I did much, but I did try and contribute. And I'm now a trustee of ICC, Indian Culture Center. I was also awarded by them, by the Professional Woman, as and in the Indian Film Festival. Because my father and all came from entertainment, I was attracted to that.
The passion of that, yeah. So
wherever I can do something, I'm more supportive now. I don't want to take lead roles, but I want to be supportive. I want to show the path. I want to show the direction, and from the behind give that little push. Say that okay, I'm here for you. Just go on. That sort of a thing.
So any regrets in coming to America?
Oh no, I love America. I think we got a maximum freedom. America is a land of opportunities, which is 100% true. I don't think I would have had that many opportunities in India, because the culture is more on. There are very enterprising women there, not that they're not, but I think in India we have a little more family structure stronger. And so women don't tend to get out so much. But otherwise, it's, I think it is wonderful to be in America. I think I would like to do my job there, come back here, and be part of both the worlds, East and West, it is like that. Though Mark Twain said they won't meet, I think they do meet if you let them meet, Yeah.
how do you envision the future for the next generations of Indian Americans?
I think the Indo-Americans are very self-motivated people, and so they are very successful because of that. They tend to go towards success and be successful because inside them there is this fire, of being successful. And I think that is the positiveness of the poverty in India, because poverty in India, none of the families want their children to be poor. So they push their children to be educated, they push their children, and the children push themselves to go ahead.
High expectations.
Yeah. So that is the positiveness of poverty that I have realized. And I think that push is so great that all the Indo-Americans here, I don't think any Indo-American will come here and say, I don't want to do anything, I'll get money anyway. They are not that type. They are very entrepreneurial. Even in India, you will see a vegetable lady with a basket selling, a man doing good. The entrepreneurial spirit is there in India. Unfortunately, there's too much population that the distribution of economy doesn't take place, Otherwise, India would be a great country by now, But it is it's moving in development, and its basic resources are required. So I think that if a person like Indo-Americans take both the trends, they look at India, they look at here, give back and forth, in whatever direction, but they must choose properly, not just give. They must choose properly, they must choose their passion, they must take that direction. I give to everybody a little of what I earn. Just a little of what I earn. Because I know that this will help them in some way, That is what I feel like. And I think that today people are realizing all that. So educated masses are realizing that,
So on a final note, have you fulfilled your passion to an international education and other passions that you have in life?
Yeah, I have two passions which are very strong. One is traveling. I love to travel, and that I have done a lot, And another one is education, and international education has been in two ways. One, people who are international, and also telling people about the world, So I think I have fulfilled, and I'm going towards it still. It hasn't yet reached the 100% thing. It's somewhere there in the 90s right now, so I still have a 10% to go. But I'm going towards that.
It's been such an honor to hear your life story. You just have so many